Hello and welcome to this FinTech Futures video interview. My name is Paul Hindle, editor at FinTech Futures, and today I'm joined by Maria Nottingham, the Managing Director of Compass Plus Great Britain and Executive Vice President of the Compass Plus Group. If you're not already aware, Compass Plus is an international provider of retail banking and electronic payment software to processors and financial institutions with customers across the globe. Maria was one of the winners at our 2021 PayTech Awards event in July, winning the Women in FinTech category, which looks to celebrate distinguished leadership and inspiring work, as well as making a positive impact on the wider payment services industry. Maria claimed the prize for her role in creating a universal international processing centre that looks to cater for the evolving needs of FIs today, offering more deployment options and increased flexibility. So welcome, Maria, and congratulations firstly on your awards. I guess first what I'd like to ask is what made Compass Plus embark on this project?
Well, without sounding too cliche, I guess, we saw a gap in the market. Like with many of these things, this is where it starts. We've seen quite a bit of frustration from the market with options that are available to financial institutions, not necessarily fintechs, quite established financial institutions as well. Again, not just in Europe, but all over the world. Picture is pretty much the same. There is a lot of choice available in the market from individual processing vendors. So collectively, all of these individual vendors offer a lot. Sometimes financial institutions are spoiled for choice, really, but each one of them would be more specialized, focused on a particular area, say debit card processing or prepaid card processing. Some would go a bit further, covering all of the issuing, or for example, all of the acquiring, or they will focus on a certain region. So when it comes to choice from an individual vendor, it's quite limited, and that's where we found the gap was for us to fill in.
Okay, so obviously you mentioned that gap there. So what was the the aims then of the process to try and fill that gap?
Well, when financial institutions are looking for a vendor, it's a lengthy process, sometimes quite stressful. We've seen financial institutions invite up to 35 vendors into tender process. After first stage, it would probably go down to maybe 18, 15, but still quite a lot. That's why I'm saying the choice is there. On the surface, that's how it looks. That's why I said they're spoiled for choice. So there is not necessarily any problem when the processing vendor is first selected. However, the problems start to arise later on down the line. So you can have this initial idea that the financial institution has, that it will be implemented, give or take. But generally, it's not a problem. You will get it out there quickly, satisfying your initial requirements, maybe near future requirements too. But a year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, your chosen vendor might start holding you back somewhat, and because your strategy may change. FI strategy can change. Payment industry always has quite a pace of development. Maybe goals will change, scale will grow, business will develop into other areas. For example, from prepaid, maybe you would like to offer credit cards. Maybe you would like to offer some digital solution, digital wallets. Maybe even you try to move from issuing to acquiring, or vice versa. We've seen it go both ways in acquiring side of things. For example, an e-commerce acquirer would like to go into post-terminal acquiring. Sometimes ATM acquiring could be on the cards as well, and so on. The next step where the problem could be is geographies. This is where really not a lot of processors can support this. We're talking a handful at that point globally, all quite well-known name. Obviously, I'm not going to list them, but for example, and I'm talking not just today. We were processing, say, in UK, and tomorrow I'd like to go into Spain, and thereafter I would like to go to France. No, more global. Think more global. For example, Europe today, A year down the line, I want to go to Brazil. A year down the line, it's Singapore, then maybe UAE, and so on. And it really is a problem for a lot of processors. And even those, well, maybe 5 really globally that can do that, it becomes very expensive, because usually what you find is that it's 2 separate installations. So one would be for Europe. If you want to go, say, Singapore, it will be another installation. At this point, you have 2 installations, 2 lots of costs. That's it. Costs escalate immediately. Same thing going between, say, issuing and acquiring. Usually these very established global processing centers that are offering this in the market, they would have separate systems that run issuing and acquiring. Integration becomes an issue straight away, because those are completely separate systems. That omni-channel that everyone wants to achieve and strives for becomes not even elusive, it becomes mystical at this point. It's pretty much impossible. Integration means there are multiple points of failure, and the more systems you've got like this, the more tricky it becomes. Time to market starts to increase, and so on. So as the FI develops and their strategy develops, if they are stuck with a specific vendor, and vendor lock-in is quite rife. To be fair, there are all vendors out there trying to keep their customer base, so they will never go anywhere. They make it complicated. And so what could a financial institution do? They try to work with the existing vendor, but as I said, time to market becomes a problem. It becomes expensive. Some processing centers, well, their strategy just doesn't align. They are not interested in going into that direction. So, well, you're basically stuck. At that point, you might want to go to a different vendor. Then you have 2 processing centers. You managing multiple vendors. Integration is an issue. Time to market is a problem. Omni-channel not achievable. So what we have seen, and we do have customers who've gone through this route, eventually they hit a complete brick wall with the incumbent. And it's a migration, and migration is never for faint-hearted, because the existing vendor never plays ball, because they're not interested in losing a customer. They will make it complicated for a migrating financial institution. So you'd rather never, ever reach that stage. So that's why it's a problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, from what you're telling me, I mean, that certainly doesn't sound ideal for a lot of financial institutions. So I assume, therefore, then that the Compass Plus Processing Center that you've been building out aims to solve these kind of problems.
Yes, we definitely set out to solve it, and we solved a great majority of them, and working on, 100% solving of a problem. Of course, strive for the best. But that's what makes our solution quite unique, not only in terms of providing universal services, but issuing, acquiring digital payments, covering all alternative payments, even ATM acquiring. We do all that, but we also try to offer technological inclusivity, which is in terms of deployment options and in terms of vendor involvement into the whole process, because quite a lot of FIs out there are looking for vendor independence where they can. So they still want support, but they do want to become independent certain ways, because it's just quicker, cheaper than involving any vendor in your processes. So our processing center runs on our own platform that we sell as a license around the world, and because of that, it's quite established. It's been developed in partnership with our customers around the world. We comply and support a lot of different systems. And again, across the world, different markets. I think we're in about 45 countries so far. So it makes our processing platform quite a lot more established than a regional processing center, for example. That platform can be deployed in a SaaS, PaaS, hosted model, and also because we're licensed we sell licenses, we're a licensed vendor, we can also offer it as a license model, whether in a customer's cloud deployment or on premise. And what's more importantly, we offer a complete mix of that. You can pick and mix which system goes in what mode. This bit can be PaaS, that can go in-house, that can be in SaaS. For example, we've seen quite a lot switch systems. They usually better kept in SaaS. There's not a lot of differentiation. It's just a robust, fault tolerant, scalable, able to support payment schemes, local, domestic, international, regional. That's what really is needed from this. Other systems can be, that's where financial institutions would like to have more control, because that's where differentiation comes from, unique selling points. So that may be more in SaaS, moving from SaaS to PaaS. And all of this is connected to how much involvement from the vendor you can have in PaaS systems. We offer well, customizations can be done fully by the customer. We do not need to be involved, and we're talking not just, you know, setting up different parameters, like actually writing user-defined functions. So yeah, that's what we've done.
Yeah, thanks for running me through all that. So obviously building out such a big kind of like processing center is quite a task. What support did you have from the team in kind of like realizing this project?
I think all projects in the payments industry usually involves a lot of different experts, a lot of teams, and building a processing center, you don't see them popping around everywhere constantly. It is quite an undertaking. So I have quite a large team actually, and it covers everything from compliance, networking, system administrators, implementation engineers, project managers, obviously software developers, experts from every aspect possible, from technical side, but also business development team, product marketing team, analysts. That's kind of my team side, but I also would like to say that I wouldn't be anywhere, let alone winning any awards, without my mentors, who have years and decades actually of experience around the world building various payment systems out there. So yeah, I'm very grateful for all of them.
I'm sure. Well, that's great. Thanks so much for kind of like running me through everything there. So that is all from us here today at FinTech Futures. A big thank you to Maria Nottingham, Compass Plus, for taking the time to talk to us today and giving us some fantastic insights into the development of your new processor. Congratulations again on your award at the PayTech Awards. Feel free to check out more of our content on our website or via our YouTube channel, on Twitter or LinkedIn, and we'll see you again soon.